علی محمد اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد۔ بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم۔ جابر ابن عبداللہ انصاری رسول خدا صلی اللہ علیہ وآلہ وسلم کی صاحبزادی حضرت فاطمہ زہرا علیہ السلام سے روایت کرتے ہیں کہ انہوں نے فرمایا، ایک دن میرے بابا جان جناب رسول خدا صلی اللہ علیہ وآلہ وسلم میرے گھر تشریف لائے اور فرمانے لگے، فاطمہ تم پر سلام ہو۔ میں نے جواب دیا، بابا جان آپ پر بھی سلام ہو۔ پھر آپ نے فرمایا، میں اپنے جسم میں کمزوری سی محسوس کر رہا ہوں۔ میں نے کہا، بابا جان خدا نہ کرے جو آپ کمزور ہوں۔ پھر آپ نے فرمایا، فاطمہ مجھے ایک یمنی چادر لا کر اڑھا دو۔ میں یمنی چادر لے آئی اور وہ میں نے بابا جان کو اڑھا دی۔ میں دیکھ رہی تھی کہ آپ کا چہرہ 14ویں رات کے چاند کی طرح چمک رہا ہے۔ اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد۔ ابھی ایک ساعت نہیں گزری تھی کہ میرے بیٹے حسن علیہ السلام آ گئے اور بولے، امی جان آپ پر سلام ہو۔ میں نے جواب دیا، میرے بیٹے، میری آنکھ کے تارے، میرے دل کے ٹکڑے، تم پر بھی سلام ہو۔ پھر وہ کہنے لگے، امی جان مجھے گھر میں نانا جان کی سی خوشبو آ رہی ہے۔ میں نے کہا، ہاں تمہارے نانا جان چادر اوڑھے ہوئے ہیں۔ اس پر حسن علیہ السلام چادر کی طرف بڑھے اور کہنے لگے، سلام ہو آپ پر نانا جان۔ اے خدا کے رسول، کیا مجھے اجازت ہے کہ میں آپ کے پاس چادر میں آ جاؤں؟ آپ نے جواب دیا، میرے بیٹے، میرے حوض کے مالک، تم پر بھی سلام ہو، تمہیں اجازت ہے۔ بس حسن علیہ السلام آپ کے پاس چادر میں پہنچ گئے۔ ایک ساعت نہیں گزری تھی کہ میرے بیٹے حسین علیہ السلام آ گئے اور کہنے لگے، امی جان آپ پر سلام ہو۔ میں نے جواب دیا، میرے بیٹے، میری آنکھ کے تارے، میرے لخت جگر، تم پر بھی سلام ہو۔ پھر وہ مجھے کہنے لگے، امی جان مجھے گھر میں نانا جان کی سی خوشبو آ رہی ہے۔ میں نے کہا، ہاں تمہارے نانا جان اور بھائی جان دونوں چادر کے اندر ہیں۔ اس پر حسین علیہ السلام چادر کے قریب گئے اور بولے، نانا جان، اے خدا کے مختار نبی، آپ پر سلام ہو۔ کیا آپ کی اجازت ہے کہ میں بھی آپ دونوں کے پاس چادر میں آ جاؤں؟ آپ نے فرمایا، تم پر بھی سلام ہو میرے لال، میری امت کے بخشوانے والے، تمہیں اجازت ہے۔ بس حسین علیہ السلام بھی ان دونوں کے پاس چادر میں پہنچ گئے۔ صلی علی محمد وآل محمد۔ اس کے بعد علی ابن ابی طالب علیہ السلام آ گئے اور بولے، رسول کی بیٹی تم پر سلام ہو۔ میں نے جواب دیا، ابو الحسن، اے مومنوں کے امیر، آپ پر بھی سلام ہو۔ پھر وہ کہنے لگے، فاطمہ مجھے گھر میں اپنے بھائی اور اپنے کی سی خوشبو آ رہی ہے، وہ آپ کے دونوں بیٹوں سمیت چادر کے اندر ہیں۔ پھر علی علیہ السلام بھی چادر کے قریب گئے اور بولے، اے خدا کے رسول، آپ پر سلام ہو، کیا مجھے اجازت ہے کہ میں بھی آپ کے پاس چادر میں آ جاؤں؟ بابا جان نے ان سے فرمایا، تم پر بھی سلام ہو میرے بھائی، میرے جانشین، میرے علم بردار، تمہیں اجازت ہے۔ بس علی علیہ السلام بھی چادر میں پہنچ گئے۔ پھر میں چادر کے قریب گئی اور میں نے کہا، سلام ہو آپ پر بابا جان۔ اے خدا کے رسول، کیا میں بھی آپ کے پاس چادر میں آ جاؤں؟ بابا جان نے فرمایا، تم پر بھی سلام ہو میری بیٹی، میرے پارہ جگر، تمہیں اجازت ہے۔ چنانچہ میں بھی چادر میں چلی گئی۔ اب جو چادر میں اکٹھے ہو گئے تو بابا جان نے چادر کے دونوں کنارے پکڑے اور دائیں ہاتھ سے آسمان کی طرف اشارہ کرتے ہوئے فرمایا، اے خدا، یہ میرے اہل بیت ہیں، یہ میرے خاص لوگ اور حامی ہیں، ان کا لحم میرا لحم ہے اور ان کا خون میرا خون ہے۔ جو انہیں ستاتا ہے وہ مجھے آزار دیتا ہے، جو انہیں رنجیدہ کرتا ہے وہ مجھے رنج پہنچاتا ہے، جو ان سے لڑے گا میں بھی اس سے لڑوں گا، جو ان سے صلح رکھے گا میں بھی اس سے صلح رکھوں گا، جو ان سے دشمنی کرے گا میں بھی اس کو دشمن سمجھوں گا، اور جو ان سے دوستی رکھے گا میں بھی اس کو دوست جانوں گا، کیونکہ یہ مجھ سے ہیں اور میں ان سے ہوں۔ اے خدا، تو اپنی صلوات، برکات، رحمت، بخشش اور خوشنودی میرے اور ان کے لیے قرار دے، اور ان سے نجاست کو دور رکھ اور انہیں نہایت پاک و پاکیزہ رکھ۔ اللہم پھر خدائے بزرگ و برتر نے فرمایا، اے فرشتوں، اے آسمان کے رہنے والوں، میں نے یہ مضبوط آسمان، پھیلی ہوئی زمین، روشن چاند، چمکیلا سورج، گھومتے سیارے، تھلکتا سمندر، تیرتی کشتی، یہ ساری چیزیں صرف انہی 5 افراد کی خاطر اور انہی کی محبت میں پیدا کی ہیں جو چادر کے اندر ہیں۔ اس پر امین وحی جبریل علیہ السلام نے پوچھا، اے پروردگار، یہ چادر کے اندر کون لوگ ہیں؟ خداوند عالم نے فرمایا، یہ نبی کے اہل بیت اور رسالت کا خزینہ ہے۔ یہ فاطمہ، ان کے بابا، ان کے شوہر اور ان کے 2 بیٹے ہیں۔ اللہم صلی علی۔ جبریل علیہ السلام نے عرض کیا، اے پروردگار، مجھے بھی اجازت دے کہ میں زمین پر اتروں اور ان میں شامل ہو کر چھٹا فرد بن جاؤں۔ خدا نے فرمایا، تمہیں اجازت ہے۔ پس جبریل امین زمین پر اترے اور کہنے لگے، اے خدا کے رسول، آپ پر سلام ہو۔ خدائے بزرگ و برتر آپ کو سلام کہتا ہے، آپ کو درود اور احترام سے سرفراز فرماتا ہے، اور آپ سے کہتا ہے کہ میری عزت اور بزرگی کی قسم، میں نے یہ مضبوط آسمان، پھیلی ہوئی زمین، روشن چاند، چمکیلا سورج، گھومتے سیارے، تھلکتا سمندر، تیرتی کشتی، یہ ساری چیزیں صرف تم لوگوں کی خاطر اور تمہاری ہی محبت میں پیدا کی ہیں، اور خدا نے مجھے اجازت دے دی ہے کہ میں بھی چادر کے اندر آپ کے پاس آ جاؤں۔ اے خدا کے رسول، کیا آپ مجھے اجازت دیتے ہیں؟ رسول خدا صلی اللہ علیہ وآلہ وسلم نے فرمایا، اے خدا کی وحی لانے والے، تم پر سلام ہو، تمہیں بھی اجازت ہے۔ پھر جبریل بھی ہم لوگوں کے ساتھ چادر میں آ گئے۔ ہما صلی اللہ۔ اس کے بعد جبریل نے میرے بابا جان سے کہا، خدا آپ لوگوں کو وحی بھیجتا ہے اور کہتا ہے، انما یرید اللہ لیذھب عنکم الرجس اہل البیت ویطہرکم تطہیرا۔ اللہم صلی علی۔ کہ واقعی خدا نے یہ ارادہ کر لیا ہے کہ آپ اہل بیت سے نجاست دور رکھے اور آپ لوگوں کو پاک و پاکیزہ رکھے۔ تب علی علیہ السلام نے بابا جان سے کہا، اے خدا کے رسول، مجھے بتائیے کہ اس چادر کے اندر آ جانا خدا کے نزدیک کیا فضیلت رکھتا ہے؟ اس پر رسول خدا صلی اللہ علیہ وآلہ وسلم نے فرمایا، اس خدا کی قسم جس نے مجھے نبی بنایا اور لوگوں کی نجات کی خاطر مجھے رسالت کے لیے منتخب کیا، اہل زمین کی جس محفل میں ہمارے شیعان علی اور دوستدار اکٹھے ہوں گے اور ہماری یہ حدیث بیان کریں گے، ان پر خدا کی رحمت نازل ہوگی، فرشتے ان کو حلقے میں لے لیں گے، اور جب تک وہ لوگ محفل سے رخصت نہیں ہو جائیں گے ان کے گناہوں کی بخشش کے لیے دعا کرتے رہیں گے۔ اس پر علی علیہ السلام نے کہا، خدا کی قسم ہم اس وقت کامیاب ہو گئے۔ پھر رسول خدا نے فرمایا، اے علی، اس ذات کی قسم جس نے مجھے سچا نبی بنایا اور لوگوں کی نجات کی خاطر رسالت کے لیے منتخب کیا، اہل زمین کی جس محفل میں بھی ہماری یہ حدیث بیان کی جائے گی کہ جس میں ہمارے شیعان علی اور دوست اکٹھے ہوں گے اس محفل میں جو کوئی دکھی ہوگا خدا اس کا دکھ دور کرے گا، اور جو غم زدہ ہوگا اس کو غم سے چھٹکارا دے گا، اور جو کوئی حاجت مند ہوگا خدا اس کی حاجت پوری کرے گا۔ علی نے فرمایا، بخدا ہم نے اس وقت کامیابی اور برکت پائی، اور کعبے کے رب کی قسم اسی طرح ہمارے شیعان علی بھی کامیاب ہوئے اور دنیا و آخرت میں خوش نصیب ٹھہرے۔ اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔
بابا سے بلند نعرہ صلوات۔ جو لوگ پیچھے بیٹھے ہیں آگے کافی جگہ ہے، اگر آگے آ جائیں گے تو بہت اچھا رہے گا۔ ایک بار بابا سے بلند نعرہ صلوات۔ میدان میں جب آئے شہ عرش پناہ، میدان میں جب آئے شہ عرش پناہ، بولا بن سعد کیجئے بیعت یا شاہ، بولا بن سعد کیجئے بیعت یا شاہ، منہ پھیر کے تب غصے سے سرور نے کہا، منہ پھیر کے تب غصے سے سرور نے کہا، لا حول ولا قوت الا باللہ، میدان میں جب آئے۔ نعرہ صلوات۔ دل کی زینت درد حسینی، سر کی زینت پائے حسین، دل کی زینت درد حسینی، سر کی زینت پائے حسین، آنکھ کی زینت خالص آنسو، لب کی زینت ہائے حسین، در سے حسینی اللہ اللہ کیوں نہ سمجھ میں آ جائے، درس حسینی اللہ اللہ کیوں نہ سمجھ میں آ جائے، اپنے خدا کی جس عظمت کو سر دے کر سمجھائے حسین، اپنے اپنے صنف و سن کے کیسے نمائندے نکلے، اپنے اپنے صنف و سن کے کیسے نمائندے نکلے، کرب و بلا کے تپتے بن میں چھانٹ کے جن کو لائے حسین، دل سے عزادارو کے پوچھو غم کی لذت غم پر ناز، دل سے عزادارو کے پوچھو غم کی لذت غم پر ناز، سب کو دعوت ہر دم چرچا گھر میں ہمارے آئے حسین، شام و کوفہ منزل منزل سر تھا نیزے پر ہمراہ، شام و کوفہ منزل منزل سر تھا نیزے پر ہمراہ، زینب کا کیا ساتھ دیا تھا، زینب کے ماں جائے حسین، ضبط تشنا لب کی قسم ہے، بہتے دریا سچ کہنا، ضبط تشنا لب کی قسم ہے، بہتے دریا سچ کہنا، اکثر تجھ کو دیکھا ہوگا اشک کبھی بھر آئے حسین، آخری شعر ہے، جتنا کہنا چاہا شہ نے کہہ پاتے تو کیا ہوتا، جتنا کہنا چاہا شہ نے کہہ پاتے تو کیا ہوتا، صحن عالم میں نہ سمایا جتنا کہنے پائے حسین، دل کی زینت درد حسینی سر کی زینت پائے حسین، آنکھ کی زینت خالص آنسو लब की जीनत हाय हुसैन। नारे सलावत। तो आवाज बुलंद, नारे सलावत।
औज़ु बिल्लाहि स्समीइल अलीम मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम। औज़ु बिल्लाहि स्समीइल अलीम मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम। अलिफ लाम मीम ज़ालिकल किताबु ला रैब फ़ीहि हुदल लिल मुत्तक़ीन अल्लज़ीना युमिनूना बिल ग़ैबि व युक़ीमूनस सलाता व मिम्मा रज़क़नाहुम युनफ़िक़ून अल्लज़ीना युमिनूना बिमा उन्ज़िला अलैका व मा उन्ज़िला मिन क़ब्लिक व बिल आख़िरति हुम युक़िनून उलाइका अला अस्हाबुन नार अस्हाबुल सदक़ल्लाहु मौलाना अज़ीम। सलावत। We have taken as our theme the everyday spirituality. 7 doors to a spiritual life. And we have chosen as the doors, the 7 doors to a spiritual life. And in doing so, we will be guided by the incredible scholarship that's available today, both of our dispensation and others, for we live in an age of confluence. We live in an age where ultimately dialogue prevails, though there are forces to make sure that that doesn't happen. Then that's the other side of it. The 7 doors through which we will be exploring the major themes of Islam, Quran, and the Ahl Bayt are submission, piety, discipline, knowledge, remembrance, fellowship, and love. And these 7 over these 6 evenings will be our effort to look at how Islam, the Quran, and the Ahl Bayt provide resources for these in our daily lives. Yesterday, we looked at submission. And for the benefit of very many people who are here today for the first time, a brief recap of some of the ideas yesterday. And then we begin our brief study on piety, Taqwa. I have not forgotten that I was asked to give the equivalent words for each of these 7. Here they are. For submission, we looked at the word Tasleem. For piety, we will be looking at Taqwa. For discipline, we'll be using Sabr, patient perseverance. For knowledge, ilm. For remembrance, Zikr. For fellowship and community, there are several words for it. For the moment, Hizb, the ashab, sohbah, the community, the gathering, and lastly, love, Hubb. Yesterday, we looked at submission as something onerous in our world, something difficult to do, because it seemed to be directly opposite to our individual autonomy. We would like to say that we are capable of deciding and doing things. Submission asks us to bow our heads too. But we explored yesterday that this idea of submission is precisely submission to the Lord of the worlds. This one submission makes us free of the hundreds of other ignoble submissions to our impulses and ego, to our the bubbles that rise from within us and command obedience to the unworthy, the banal, the ephemeral, the superficial, the useless, the fake. And that then is one of our challenges. As we garner our energies, I will ask for your indulgence. Salawat. So yesterday we explored the meaning of the word Tasleem from perhaps the greatest master who could have explained it, Imam Ali himself. Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. And we looked at one of his exquisite gems from Najl Balagha, which is as follows. The occasion was a dispute, a conflict between who had the right to arbitrate. Who had the right to arbitrate? And there were those who argued that only the Book of God. And the Imam very clearly said, true, but the Book of God itself, by itself, on the side, doesn't speak. You need someone to make it speak. And it is ironic in Islamic, in our understanding of the Quran, we believe that the Quran is the silent, the Quran Samit, and we believe that the Imam is the Quran Natiq, the talking Quran. It is very interesting that it was the talking Quran himself who was saying that this silent Quran itself will not interpret, it needs someone to interpret it. And a sort of a most remarkable and highly ironic that he needed to say it. He then continued that I'm going to explain Islam in a way no one will after me. That is enormous confidence. And he did so as follows. Al-Islam huwa taslim, wa-taslim huwa al-yaqeen, wal-yaqeen huwa tasdeeq, wa-tasdeeq huwa al-iqrar, wal-iqrar huwa al-a'da, wal-a'da huwa al-amal. The translation of that would be Islam, the religion, the faith, Islam is submission, and submission is based on certainty, and certainty is based on affirmation, and affirmation is acknowledgement, iqrar, and acknowledgement is obligation, because when I acknowledge something, I'm obliged to then obey it, and that obedience leads to action, leads to amal. And so therefore, ultimately the Imam was calibrating step by step all the dimensions of our being. Such was his mastery. And in that one exploration, we looked at submission yesterday. Today it will be my effort to look at Taqwa. Taqwa is piety. A key word. There are over 250 occurrences of the word Taqwa in this form, but in all its other prefixes and suffixes, the word is over 400 plus times in the Quran. It is almost like a lead motif in the book. And if you were to ask what is the central message of the Prophet, it would be Taqwa. And through the ages, the understanding of taqwa has been, I will be summarizing, but then give examples as well, has been restraint. Taqwa is to hold back. Taqwa is to pause. It is to pause for a higher cause. Okay. There we go. The original definition comes from the dictionaries, and as is the wont of Arabic dictionaries, if you look up the key word, you almost always find an image. Arabic is a dynamic language. Those who know Arabic more than me have told me, I've read, that in Arabic, verbs dominate. In English, nouns dominate. A summary of incredible. Because if we wanted to show deference in English, the words would all be nouns. We would say Your Highness, Your Excellency. We would use words which are nouns. In Arabic, it is not so. In Urdu, it is not so. I mean, a completely different issue on linguistics. I don't want to go there. So, in Arabic, if you were to look up the key word of a meaning, you would almost always find an image. And the image for the word taqwa, if you were to look it up in the great Arabic dictionaries, you would find that it refers to a holding oneself in restraint. The metaphor is that of going on a path where there are thorns, a thorny path. And as you would hold your clothes closer to yourself to see that they wouldn't snag in any of those thorns, that careful navigation of a way through thorns would be taqwa. And the image immediately makes sense. Yes, we are in this world, and in this world of temptations and dissipations, our navigation of ourselves would be taqwa, holding ourselves softly, close, so that we do not get snagged by the thorns on the path. Makes sense. This idea of restraint has also been captured in popular imagination. Just of the very many stories, just one. It'll, from abstract ideas, immediately this kind of concrete story makes sense. It is said of two Muslim scholars, early 20th century, late 19th, early 20th century, two Muslim scholars, good friends. One was a scholar of the Quran, did some tafsir, multi-volume tafsir. Another one was a scholar of Islam, but another aspect, more pious, more. And these two were very good friends. The person who narrated this story to me also said that he has met some of the children of these two scholars. Not the time for the actual thing. The story has a nice point to it. It is said that these two friends made a pledge that whosoever of the two passes on into the next world first will inform the other of how it was. Allah Ta'ala ne unke saath kya muamla kiya. That phrase. And it so happened that the scholar of the Quran, the tafsir, mufassir gentleman, passed away first. On the soyam of his passing, his friend, the other scholar, saw him in a dream. And he said, the one in the dream, the other scholar, the one who came in the dream, said, मेरी बख्शिश हो गई, लेकिन तफसीर की वजह से नहीं. Which surprised the one who saw him in the dream, and he said, then what? Well, he said, my deeds were brought before me, and all the other good deeds that I had done, which I presented, were put aside for the moment. Let us not consider the angels to be too harsh. The system works on a ruthless justice. So there are causes for that, but for the moment, he said, in all that list, in all my good deeds, my errors and lapses were plenty, but all my good deeds, whichever one I adduced, the angel said, you have already been recompensed for it. You have already been recompensed in the world. You have already been recompensed for it. And that dismayed me a little. And then somebody, a voice from the high, said, look at something that he did which wasn't for himself. And he said, they poured into my record some more. And it turned out that on a particular day, he says, I remember that, on a particular day I was in this great enthusiastic moment of inspiration. Words and ideas coming upon me in great detail, and as was the time, we are talking late 19th, early 20th century, I had that ink pot and I had my quill, and I would dip the quill and keep writing. And in that moment of great flux and inspiration, I saw a fly sitting on the edge of the ink pot, and I paused. And I saw that it was drinking the ink, the water on the side. And I just paused, let it finish, and when it flew off by itself, I then continued writing. And that one gesture, for the sake of a creature of God, for the sake of a creature, not myself, not my own aggrandizement, nobody was watching, I wasn't getting any brownie points from anyone. That one deed was in the record for which the on high judgment came. For the sake of that one gesture, we forgive you and we accept all your tafsir and all the other stuff that you've done. That's fine. Taqwa, salawat. So we find this idea of restraint, this idea of holding, this idea of pausing as a continuous motif in our understanding of this. Just one more story, because it has once again a nice rhyme to it, but this one comes from a much greater person, Imam Abu Hanifa, one of the great four Islamic scholars who organized the legal system. It is said one day a tray of food came as a gift unto Imam Abu Hanifa. Imam Abu Hanifa was busy doing his thing, writing, noting, and the servant came and said, sir, the neighbors have sent some food. There was a wedding, and the neighbors have sent and the Imam looked up and he said, I don't know them. I mean, that one sentence lies a whole lot. He doesn't mean that he doesn't know them socially. Of course he knows them. No, I don't know their modes of earning. I don't know whether this food is completely halal or not. This is Imam Abu Hanifa, no joke. So he says, okay, put it away. I'll look into it. Bring me the food that is of our own house and I'll eat that. So the servant did that. 2 days later, there being no refrigerators and any other stuff, the servant said, sir, what do I do with that food? It is 2 days old now. What do I do with it? He says, go put it into the Euphrates. Jao use darya Furat mein dal do. Okay. Servant did that. From that day onwards, Imam Abu Hanifa made sure never to eat fish that came from Euphrates. The people who then met him said, but sir, you don't say this as a fatwa. You don't make other people not have it. Why is that? Why is it why aren't you having, is it okay? Is it not, is it kosher? Is it? He says, no. Ye taqwa hai, wo fatwa hai. This is my restraint. But it is not for you. You people, go ahead. This is not a matter of a fatwa. It is a matter of taqwa, restraint. No. The kind of scrupulousness which of our times, I sometimes narrate this story and say to people, यार ये ऐसे ही लोग थे जो दीन हम तक पहुंचा गए. अगर अपन जैसे लोग उस वक्त होते, we would have said, अच्छा यार चलता है. Kind of, सब चलता है. We wouldn't have had the deen with the kind of completeness that we have it today. It's our way of saying salams to them. Salawat. So, taqwa as restraint. This, as I said, and I have established from the great masters, stories, anecdotes, seems to be in place. And yet, there is another nuance to it, and it will be my honor and privilege to share that with you. And it comes from the Imam al-Muttaqeen, from Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Imam of Muttaqeen. It is a rare thing that one of the first neon-sighted lights that I saw on my arrival at Najaf for the first time in my life, in March 2019, I happened to see Imam al-Muttaqeen as the very first sign when I arrived at one of those connections. So the Imam of all Muttaqeen has a very different take on taqwa. And Nahjul Balagha, this collection of sermons, the most famous, popular, bestseller book, sadly also unread, not read. It is everywhere, but it is not read. More than the first 7 pages is one of those things. Nahjul Balagha has an understanding of taqwa which is very, very different and richer than what we have understood so far. It isn't restraint. Okay, now if Imam al-Muttaqeen is explaining something as different, we need to pay attention. So, okay, how does he go about it? The Imam says, and we will use several metaphors and then elaborate on that. The Imam says, taqwa is a sanctuary. Once you are in, you are safe. The Imam says, taqwa is a shield. It saves you from the bows and arrows that are aimed at you and saves you from being hurt. Now these are very strange metaphors. Sanctuary. The Imam is saying, it is not restraint, it is sanctuary. Now, scholars who explain this have said that there are people who think of taqwa as a prison, as a restraint, as something that holds us back, as something that surrounds us and keeps us and hooks us. Sure, from one point of view, a prison and a sanctuary both have walls. But the purpose of a sanctuary is different and the purpose of a prison is different. And it is here that the wisdom of the Imam takes us to. The Imam uses an incredible word for taqwa. He says it is not restraining yourself from sin, but to live in a way that makes the attraction of sin irrelevant. Subhanallah. Makes the attraction of sin irrelevant. It makes you so robust that the kinds of things that would distract you don't distract you. Taqwa is that stronghold, that rope of God that from one end reaches all the way unto Allah. Taqwa is not restraint, it is immunity. it is not restraining yourself from sin, but immunity from the possibility of sin. And this calls for a different kind of reflection and some depth. Salawat. Ya Ali. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Imagine, and how easy it is to imagine for us in the post-pandemic age. Imagine someone taking refuge in a mountain cave because the village or the settlement is plagued by some disease. We post-pandemic people know this very well. Somebody says, since I'm afraid of this viral disease that has come upon this whole village, I choose to get away from here and go and be away from everyone up in this mountainside on my cave. I will be safe. If we take taqwa as a constant assailment of the temptation, then the best thing you can do is abstinence. And the best abstinence you can do is to cut off your relationships with society, go into seclusion, for then you won't be tempted. Then that would be the logical correlation of it. But the Imam is saying something else. Imagine you have taken the vaccine, you are safe. You are immune to the viral disease. Now you are within the people who are afflicted. Now you are able to serve them and help them and heal them. Now you are able to teach them and save them. You yourself are safe because you have the immunity. And you yourself are able to save those who are afflicted. This definition of taqwa has far more resonance and far more meaning than the meaning of restraint. Salawat. So when the Imam says that the taqwa is like a fort, like a fortress, a sanctuary, once you are in it, you are safe, he's actually pointing out another mental, if you like, exercise. Scholars who have analyzed the Imam's words with great depth have pointed out that our universe, our lives, are a constant fluctuation of between dualities. There is attraction and repulsion. There is good and bad, there is halal and haram, there is apne or parai, there is us and them, there is up and down, there is male and female, there is the north and the south, there is a whole raft of polarities that grip this universe. The way it is structured, masters say that only Allah is one, everything else is two. Everything else is held in a dynamic polarization of opposites. One of the great Sufi masters, Sheikh Ali al-Jamal, has said, it is the wisdom of Allah to hide the realities of things in their opposites. And so it is. We know very well that and these kinds of opposites are indicated in the Quran, in a way by which Allah Ta'ala teaches us about Himself, that it is He who brings night from the day, and it is He who brings life from death. These opposites, as we experience them, are unified in Tawheed, in oneness. So, if taqwa is a constant running away from one thing, it is therefore running towards something else. Surely that makes sense. So if taqwa is a constant abstinence from something, it means there is something towards which you are moving. If there is a plus and a minus, then there is a constant movement. The masters say, no matter how much abstinence you do, what you are actually doing is looking at the symptom. You are looking You're looking at the effect, not the symptom. You're looking at the sinfulness within you, the inclination towards the lapse, the gap, the fall, the ease. You are looking at that within yourself. But the cause of it, you are not addressing. The cause is the world itself. So no matter how much you abstain from something, the moment you start coming to real life and the real world, there is the world with all its temptations and all its... So the Imam says, no, if you are truly a muttaqi, then the tentacles of sin have been severed. What a remarkable image. He has taken the dissipation and the qualities of sins to be like snakes and reptiles and tentacles. And he says when they have been severed, they won't be able to hurt you anymore. Precisely the kind of word we are trying to understand through immunity. The one who is immune to the viral disease is the one who is able to move amongst the people, is able to help them and serve them, but is himself not assailed. This then allows us to understand how taqwa is not a restraining from sin, but when the attraction of sin becomes irrelevant. When you realize that the attraction to sin actually leads to darkness, actually leads to a breaking of heart, actually leads to a downward spiral. And we know this. It doesn't need many more explanations, but we know this. A Christian scholar of our time, Simone Weil, has put it extremely well. One of the ways by which the devil, shaitan, one of the ways by which the devil puts his ploy upon us is by making evil glamorous. He makes evil things shiny, having glamour in them. And that glamour is what we pay attention to, and that then turns into the spiral. We soon know that having indulged in that glamour, just how fake it is, how empty it is, how brittle it is, how fragile it is, how hollow it is. That then is what the Imam is teaching. He says, leave the glamour and become impervious to the attraction of that glamour. True taqwa is being impervious to it. There lies our door to spirituality on a daily basis. Salawat. I began by reciting the opening verse of chapter 2, Surah Baqarah. And right there comes the word muttaqin. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alif Lam Mim, Zalikal Kitab la Rayba Fi Hudal lil Muttaqin. This is the book in which is no doubt, after the first three letters, Alif Lam Mim, a guidance for those who are muttaqi. And this word muttaqi, we normally in our English translations read as those who fear God, those who have God consciousness, those who are aware of God, those who are mindful, etc. A whole vocabulary. From that word muttaqi, I had the honor and privilege of reflecting on this and some meanings that emerged from it. We will take an understanding of as I've already said, the word taqwa occurs in the Quran 250 plus times, and the word with all its prefixes and suffixes is 404 times. It's a huge subject, it's like a major motif. So, this book is a guidance for the righteous, for those who are God conscious, for those who are aware of their own estimation. One scholar in explaining muttaqi has said, those who neither overestimate anyone nor allow anyone to underestimate them. Nice spin there. Meaning of muttaqi is the person who tries to not overestimate anyone. He understands in the order of things where that person is placed, nor allows anyone to underestimate him. He knows his own stature, not that he is interested in announcing that stature all the time. That would be a waste of energy. But this exact navigation, a few minutes of reflection will make us recognize how hard it is. We get awed too quickly. We get impressed too quickly. When a person does something slightly above our understanding of what human greatness is, we immediately start giving superhuman powers. And when we do something which is extremely natural to us, and other people out of admiration say nice things to us, we pander to that glory. And as one of my fans put it, हमने उनकी तारीफ की तो वो फूल फूल के पंखे को जाके लग ली. It became a soul like a balloon and went up. We do that. If we do something that people find admirable and they say those very honest and genuine admiration, that kind of pleases, and then that makes us feel, see, neither overestimate anyone nor allow anyone to underestimate. That kind of hard, that is what taqwa is. One very social understanding of it. One of the finest, there are times when in reading the Quran, benefit to the youngsters, young people sitting here, I would like you to memorize one number, 177. 177. Surah Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 177. It's a long ayat. I'll give some clues to it, but do look it up. There are, in our understanding of the largesse of the universe, we find that one of the mysteries of the universe is how a part can contain an image of the whole. It's a mathematical thing. That in the Mandelbrot set, a part can contain an image of the whole. And if you expand that, you still get the part which is an image of the whole. And one very simple life example is that our DNAs, the DNA that is responsible for making me and each one of us the way we are, each cell contains that DNA. Such is the generosity of the universe. The million cells that I have in my skin and bones and liver and all of them, eyes, each cell contains the DNA which is enough to make another replica and a clone of me. That kind of a part of me containing the whole of me, or at least containing the image of whole of me. If we use that as a metaphor, then the verse of the Quran, chapter 2, verse 177, is like the DNA of Islam, is like the summary of the whole religion captured in a single verse. There are many such verses, not the time for detail, but this one. Verse 177, Surah Baqarah, is almost like a map of taqwa. What is taqwa? That's the word contains. Taqwa is in it. Here's a rough English translation. Righteousness is not that you turn your faces to the east or the west. Righteousness is not that you turn your faces to the east or the west, but righteousness is that you believe in Allah and the last day and the messengers and the books and the angels. And out of love for Him, give what has been given to you. وَآتَ الْمَالَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ. Out of love for Him, give. And having mentioned that, he then gives us a list of 7 categories of people to whom we have to give out of love for him. واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل وفي الرقاب والسائلين. Give to the orphan, the needy, the poor, the traveler, the one who is asking, and the one who is caught in the rope. وفي الرقاب, the one whose neck is in a rope. What a remarkable metaphor. At that time it was translated as freeing a slave. In our times, masters tell us that it is relieving a person of debt. What a remarkable spin on that. यानी एक गर्दन से छुड़ाना, गर्दन के रस्सी को छुड़ाना. Now, once upon a time that was slavery, and that is true. Today, what worse rope can a person be in than to be in debt? Help a person, give that person, so that that debt is paid off. If it is your own, you forgive it. So having mentioned the categories of people out of whom we have to give out of love, then he says, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. Then establish prayer and give charity. So zakat is outside of all of these categories. Allah Ta'ala truly catches the purse straight away. Somebody said very well, यार अल्लाह ताला ने तो पर्स पे हाथ रख दिया, मैंने तो तस्बीह को पकड़ रखा था. I never let go of the tasbih, but God said, no, the purse. Okay. And then he says, those who keep their promises. I'm continuing bits and pieces from the translation of the same verse. It's a long verse. So, who keep their promises, keep their pledge. And at all times of panic and fear, keep their equilibrium. Do not get frenetic and do not get frantic. These are the people who will succeed. These are the muttaqeen. So now we have a personification of what taqwa is. Verse 177, chapter 2. Do look it up, engage with it, kind of think about it. Salawat. I just will make one comment upon keeping that pledge part. Who keep their pledges when they pledge, who when they promise, keep that promise. I find that there are promises I make by words. Sadly, bad record there. When I say to someone, okay, I'll do it, and I don't do it. Or if I say to someone, I'll give you such and such a thing, a book or something, and then I forget. That's not keeping promise. But that's a failure of not keeping a promise which I have actually said in words. But a promise may not be said in words at all. Maybe in deeds, in actions. And here is one example to my great shame, that if a person is not well, an elder, family member, senior, not well, and I go and visit that person on a Friday afternoon, and I go and visit that person again next Friday, and I go and visit that person again next Friday. I haven't said I will come every Friday, but I went 3 Fridays. I have made a promise by deed. On the 4th Friday, I may kind of wiggle out of it and say, but I didn't actually say that I would come, and I would go away and do something else. That person is waiting. There is a promise broken. A deep issue right there. Wow, taqwa would work out in action. Just a small wisdom point I wanted to share. Salawat. And so from our understanding of the Imam al-Muttaqeen, we come to, we are going Islam Quran, Ahl Bayt. We are going by the family. And we are going by those who embodied these principles. And in many of my previous conversations here, I have had occasion to mention that the family of the Prophet, we might say they were receivers of blessing. Indeed, they were the chosen ones. They were the people of blessing. Perhaps the true mark of their greatness comes from the people they inspired, from the people whose lives they touched and achieved such incredible loyalty that we then say, if the Prophet, the wives of the Prophet, the daughter of the Prophet, the son-in-law and the grandchildren of the Prophet are in that holy circle of chosen ones, those who loved them, those whose love they attracted till the last moment, truly they deserve our salams, because they achieved a kind of a signature. They left a mark for us saying, well, you need not actually belong to the actually inner circle, and yet that inner circle can expand and include them too. And for that, what greater example than Salman Farsi, the great stranger who became a member of the family. Salman is Ahl Bayt. And much later, inshallah, we will have occasion to remember him, about another person for whom Imam Husain said, Abbas is Ahl Bayt. And he is one of us too. In that sense, then, the family. Today, we will remember as we've said, even yesterday, we will go from the outer circle to the inner circle. Yesterday, we remembered Hur. Today, we will remember some of the others who achieved sanctity and sainthood by this incredible love and loyalty to the muttaqeen, to the family. We will benefit from Talib Johri Sahib. A Sufi master of our times has explained a very different kind of relationship we can have with the Prophet and Imam Ali. And he says there is a sense in which Imam Ali is a greater exemplar for each one of us. And he does this. He is a Sufi Sheikh master. He's no disrespect involved. He says, but from one perspective, and the perspective is, the Prophet was groomed by Sayyidina Jibreel. The Prophet received his training by a divine system. We don't know how it worked, but we do know that the Prophet had access to a source of wisdom none of us are privy to. But Imam Ali demonstrated something else. A human being following a human master. This we can all do. An amazing perspective. Not all of us are privy to the wisdom of Jibreel coming from Lawh Mahfuz teaching the book. That could only happen to the Prophet. And that is true. But Imam Ali showed us what it is like to be completely loyal to one person who was visible, tangible. And in that relationship, all of us are able to participate. My point is that as I refer to these, the outer circle of the saints of Karbala, we are now going to remember those whom Imam Husain carefully assembled. We heard in the Marsiya just now from the चुन चुन के इमाम ने जिन हस्तियों को जमा किया. I don't remember the exact line, but something that while on the other side there were soldiers and entire brigades coming, here are the 72 being assembled carefully, step by step by step. Professor Abbas Husain uses the image of a painter. And he says, when a great work of art is being made, and a painter puts a dash of color in one place and a line in another place, and somebody, while it is being made, asks, but why did you do that? The painter asks, just wait. When the whole picture is clear, you will see. What a remarkable way of understanding the gems that the Imam collected, who then became these fascinating people for us to learn from. So the Imam has, of all the people there, a very, very old friend, Habib ibn Mazahir. The Imam has in the gathering Muslim bin Awsaja. The Imam has Zuhair Qain. These are strange figures. These are people whom we don't like. I mean, the others, of course, get the pride of place in their biographies. But these three people, these particular three people, right now, perhaps just a little bit about Habib ibn Mazahir, a childhood friend, old man, not exactly a contemporary, and yet to him the Imam sends a letter and gets him. Someone would have thought that the Imam would have written to a healthier person for war. That is not the point. Muslim bin Awsaja and Zuhair Qain. Zuhair Qain is a strange case. They were traveling on the journey post Hajj. And the two caravans were just across the road over the side as they were traveling. And the Imam sent an invitation to Zuhair Qain's camp and said, I would like to see you. And as was the political propagandic machinery of that time, Zuhair said, yeah, I'll go. And his wife said, are you crazy? It's Imam Husain calling you. Take a look. And we have no record of what actually happened when Zuhair came to Imam Husain and the two men sat together. We have no record of the conversation. But we do know this, that conversation was one transformative conversation. Zuhair comes back, says to his wife, go, we will not meet again. I'm joining this camp. That one shift. That one shift. Okay. We bring our conversation to a close. ये गवाहियां देख ली, हुसैन ने अल्लाह को गवाह बनाया, पिसर साद ने लश्कर वालों को गवाह बनाया। जैसे ही उसने तीर फेंका, लश्कर वालों को भी तमन्ना हुई कि हमें भी इनाम मिले। 4000 तीरंदाज थे और 4000 तीर चले और उधर रोकने के लिए 72 सीने भी नहीं थे। देखो, मैं नौजवानों की ज़ाती तरबियत चाहता हूँ। ये जुमला जो मैंने कहा, इसका मतलब तो सुनते जाओ। इधर से 4000 तीर चले और उधर से रोकने वाले 72 सीने भी नहीं थे। इसलिए ये मैंने क्यों कहा? इसलिए कि उन 72 शहीदों में से वो था जो सिर्फ 6 महीने का था। उधर से तीरों की बारिश शुरू हुई, इधर असहाब हुसैन ने एक दूसरे को पुकारा। हबीब ने ज़ुहैर को पुकारा, ज़ुहैर वो दिन आ गया है जिसके लिए हम पैदा हुए थे। कहा क्या करें? कहा ऐसा करो कि जिन फौजियों के पास घोड़े हैं वो ख़याम हुसैनी के सामने घोड़ों पर बैठ जाएं। हुसैन की सारी फौज के पास घोड़े नहीं थे। फौज ही क्या थी, जिनके पास भी घोड़े थे उन्होंने घोड़े मिलाए, लेकिन घोड़ों के दरमियान जगह बची اور خطرہ تھا کہ تیر آ کر خیمے میں نہ چلا جائے، تو وہ جو پیادہ سپاہی تھے حسین کے دو گھوڑوں کے درمیان اکڑوں بیٹھ گئے۔ جب تیروں کی بارش رکی تو حسین گئے یہ دیکھنے کے لیے کہ کون سا ساتھی زندہ ہے اور کون سا ساتھی چلا گیا۔ ایک مرتبہ حسین نے کانوں میں سے ایک بی بی کی رونے کی آواز آئی۔ حسین نے مڑ کر دیکھا کہ ایک لاشے پر ایک کنیز بیٹھی رو رہی ہے۔ کہا یہ کس کا لاشا ہے جس پر یہ عورت بیٹھی ہوئی رو رہی ہے؟ ہاتھ جوڑ کر کسی نے کہا فرزند رسول، یہ مسلم ابن اوسجا کا لاشا ہے، ان کی کنیز اس کے سرہانے بیٹھی رو رہی ہے۔ پوچھا کیا مسلم مر گئے؟ کہا نہیں مولا، تھوڑی سی جان باقی ہے۔ یہ سننا تھا کہ دوڑتے ہوئے حسین مسلم کے قریب آئے، ان کا سر اٹھایا، اپنے زانوں پہ رکھا۔ مسلم کیسے ہو؟ کہا مولا حق ادا ہو گیا۔ حسین جواب کیا دیں؟ مولا کی آنکھوں سے آنسو گرنے لگے۔ اتنے میں دوڑتے ہوئے حبیب ابن مظاہر آئے اور کہنے لگے مسلم، تمہاری بیوی خیمے میں ہے، تمہارا 5 سال کا بچہ خیمے میں ہے، تم دنیا سے جا رہے ہو، اگر کوئی وصیت کرنی ہو تو کر دو، ہم پوری کر دیں گے۔ ایک مرتبہ مسلم نے آنکھ کھولی اور اشارہ کیا حسین کی طرف اور کہا اوصیک بہذا المظلوم، کوئی وصیت نہیں ہے میرے مظلوم مولا کا خیال رکھنا، مجھے بیٹے کے لیے کوئی وصیت نہیں کرنی، بیوی کے لیے کوئی وصیت نہیں کرنی، میری وصیت تو بس اتنی ہے کہ میرے بعد میرے مظلوم مولا کا خیال رکھنا۔ یہ کہا اور موت کی ہچکی آئی، مسلم دنیا سے گزر گئے۔ حسین نے سر رکھا، انا للہ و انا الیہ راجعون کہا، اٹھے، اور اب حسین نے ایک منظر دیکھا کہ خیمے کے پردہ اٹھا، ایک 5 سال کا بچہ جس کی کمر میں تلوار حمائل تھی وہ دوڑتا ہوا نکلا تو سلام کیا خیمے میں اور مقتل کی طرف بھاگنے لگا۔ حسین نے کہا میرے ساتھیو یہ کس کا بچہ ہے جو مقتل کی طرف جا رہا ہے؟ کہا یہ مسلم کا بیٹا ہے۔ کہا اسے پکڑ کے لے آؤ۔ اصحاب دوڑے، 5 سال کے بچے کو لائے۔ اب میں تم سے پوچھتا ہوں کہ جب اصحاب بچے کو لائے تو پیار سے لائے ہوں گے نا، چمکار کے لائے ہوں گے نا، تمانچے تو نہیں مارے ہوں گے نا، گوشوارے تو نہیں نوچے ہوں گے نا۔ وہ مسلم کے بیٹے کا مقدر تھا، یہ حسین کی بیٹی کا مقدر تھا۔ انا للہ و انا الیہ راجعون۔ اللہم صلی علی سیدنا محمد وعلی آل سیدنا بارک وسلم۔
یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا حبیب آ جاؤ، تمہارا دوست ہے تنہا حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا حبیب آ جاؤ، شہید کیسے ہوا وہ بتاؤ گے آ کر، تم حال مسلم بے کس سناؤ گے آ کر، رقیہ تکتی ہے رستہ، حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا، حبیب آ جاؤ، لگاؤ اس سے بھی اندازے میری غربت کے، جہاں پہ ابن علی لکھنا تھا وہاں میں نے دیا ہے ماں کا حوالہ، حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا، حبیب آ جاؤ، بتا رہا تھا اسے کوئی بھی نہیں ہے میرا، تو بولی ثانی زہرا، حبیب آئے گا، ہے اس کو تم پہ بھروسہ، حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا، حبیب آ جاؤ، وہ جب یہ سنتی ہے کوفے سے آ رہے ہیں شقی، تو پوچھتی ہے ہمارا بھی آئے گا کوئی، دعائیں دے گی سکینہ، حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا، حبیب آ جاؤ، گوارا کر نہیں سکتی حسین کی غیرت، تمہاری زوجہ کی چادر کو لوٹ لے امت، تم اس کو چھوڑ کے کوفہ، حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا، حبیب آ جاؤ، چمکتے چاند کی ہم کو بھی دید ہو جائے، تم آؤ تو میرے بچوں میں عید ہو جائے، بہت اداس ہے کنبہ، حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا، حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ خط نہیں اس بہنوں کی آرزو سمجھو، ہمارے لفظوں کو زینب کی گفتگو سمجھو، بہن یہ کہتی ہے بھیا، حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا، حبیب آ جاؤ، بہن نے اس کو تکلم جو بھائی سمجھا تھا، پکاری شام غریباں میں ثانی زہرا، ہمارا لٹتا ہے پردہ، حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا، حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا، حبیب آ جاؤ۔
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today is my mother-in-law's death anniversary, 10th one, I think. So I would like to recite a small dua for parents with the excerpts from Imam Zainul Abidin's prayer for parents. O Allah, bless Muhammad, your slave and your messenger, and his Ahl Bayt, pure and single, and the pure, and single them out for the best of your blessings, your mercy, your benedictions, and your peace. Single out our parents, O Allah, for honor with you and blessings from you, O most merciful of the merciful. O Allah, we thank them for our upbringing, and please reward them for honoring us and guard them as they guarded us in our infancy. O Allah, I beseech thee not to place us amongst those who disrespect their parents, and I beg you on the day of judgment, when every soul will be repaid for what it has earned, they shall not be wronged. Let them be showered with your generosity, your forgiveness and mercy. Verily, you are the possessor of abounding bounty and kindness. You are the most merciful of the merciful. Ameen. This is another small dua I'd like to say. It is said, when mercy and truth have met together, righteousness and peace have kissed. O Allah, teach our children to be truthful, ethical, and faithful to your commandment and to your commands. Please forgive us. We need to forgive others. To be forgiven, we need to forgive others. O Lord, shower us with your mercy and help us with small acts of understanding which can lead to a life-changing experience of love. Allah, you are forgiving and merciful. You are our refuge and our fortress. You are our hiding place, and under your wings, we know we will always find refuge. Protect us and our children. Protect our friends and family from trouble wherever we go, and keep evil far from us. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad.
Let's do the Fatiha and then. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Mawlana Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Mawlana Muhammad wa barik wa sallim. Let us offer Fatiha for those who are no longer amongst us, but those who have benefited and blessed us with their presence and their prayers. In particular, we remember, as we remembered yesterday, our dear friend Zohra Bandukwala, who's no more with us, and the anniversary of Zaitun Tapal, and all others who have frequented these gatherings but who have gone on. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم الحمد للہ رب العالمین الرحمن الرحیم مالک یوم الدین ایاک نعبد و ایاک نستعین اہدنا الصراط المستقیم صراط الذین انعمت علیہم غیر المغضوب علیہم ولا الضالین بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم اللہم صلی علی سیدنا مولانا محمد وعلی آل سیدنا مولانا محمد بے عدد ما فی جمیع القرآن حرفاً حرفاً بے عدد کل حرف الفاً الفا سبحان ربک رب العزت عما یصفون والسلام علی المرسلین والحمد للہ رب العالمین. توجہ زیارت.
اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد. السلام علیکہ یا رسول اللہ، السلام علیکہ یا نبی اللہ، السلام علیکہ یا شفیع المظلمین، السلام علیکہ ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. السلام علیکہ یا ابا عبداللہ، السلام علیکہ یا ابن رسول اللہ، السلام علیکہ یا ابن امیر المومنین وابن سید الوسین، السلام علیکہ یا ابن فاطمۃ الزہرا سیدۃ النساء العالمین، السلام علیکہ یا ابن خدیجۃ الکبریٰ ام المومنین والمومنات، السلام علی الحسین وعلی علی ابن الحسین وعلی اولاد الحسین وعلی اصحاب الحسین وانصار الحسین، خصوصاً سیدی مولا یا ابو الفضل العباس ابن امیر المومنین سقائی یتیمان دشت کربلا. السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. آقائے غریبان، مولائے بے کسان، بادشاہ خراسان، ضامنان یتیمان، السلام علیکہ یا مغیث الشیعۃ والزوار، السلطان یا ابو الحسن یا علی ابن موسیٰ ایھا الرضا ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. السلام علیکہ یا صاحب العصر والزمان، الامان 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 من فتنۃ الزمان، السلام علیکہ یا خلیفۃ الرحمن، السلام علیکہ یا شریک القرآن، السلام علیکہ یا امام الانس والجان، اجل اللہ تعالی فرجک وسہل اللہ مخرجک وظہورک. السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد. نعرہ تکبیر، نعرہ رسالت، نعرہ حیدری.